Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the news. I am Sajo Breacher. Coming up, join hands to save a baby donates to the blood transfusion services. My special guest on News Review today is Sana Dabo, the PRO, National Association of Gambian Nurses and Midwives. But first, we'll take a look at the newspapers. The Standard newspaper is reporting internal audit saves over $32 million from bogus claims. Gambian allegedly killed in Casamas military attack. A corpse found in Brufut Forest. Busumbala homicide victim buried after international forensic help. Let's take a look at some of these stories in detail. The Gambia government has come under serious criticism over attempts of officials to squander 32 million Gambian dollars through false claims. The Department of Internal Audit 2020 report highlighted how it managed to save the country from losing over $32 million through its pre-audit exercise. According to the report, the internal audit was able to make these savings through cancellation of payment vouchers for not complying with payment requirements and GPPA regulations. The auditors said the Office of the President on May 4, 2020 requested for the payment of $100,000 to Petrogas for fuel excesses for the President's Meet the People store without evidence to substantiate excess fuel used during the tour. These and other things that were requested, of course, by different ministries, including the Ministry of Finance. Gambian allegedly killed in Casamas military attack. A Gambian and a native of Pirang, Abdullah Njai, was allegedly killed in Casamas during a reported military attack in a rebel zone. A close relative of the deceased in Pirang confirmed the news to the Standard newspaper yesterday evening. Njai died a few days ago after Senegalese soldiers allegedly attacked a rebel base in Casamas. The source, who preferred to remain anonymous, said Njai's body was found half buried along with some of the slain rebels. 21-year-old Marie Mendy, whose mysterious death this month shocked the entire country, was laid to rest on Saturday, weeks after her mutilated body was discovered in her house in Busumbala. Another corpse, identified to be one of Zilzon Gomez, was found in a well tied with a rope. Initial reports allege it could have been a rape case that went bloody, but the theory is now widely discounted. We are still following the investigations that are being done by the police on this case. Meanwhile, Gambia improves in press freedom, but old habits still exist, according to RSF. The Gambia has made another progress in the 2021 World Press Freedom Index, ranking 85 out of 180 countries surveyed. However, according to Reporters Without Borders, the old habits from 23 years of terror and suppression of press freedom have not yet fully disappeared. In its annual press freedom ranking report released last week, in which the Gambia made a 2-point improvement from 87 in the year 2020, the France-based human rights watchdog said it observed notable press freedom violations in 2020 in the Gambia. I think that will be it for the Standard newspapers. Let's take a look at The Point. The Point newspaper is reporting COVID-19 patients starve despite $6 million Gambian dollars approved feeding. Let's take a look at that story. COVID-19 patients at recovering centers Nemban and Sanatorium were left starving after the ministry failed to provide food for them for the second time in days, despite a recent approval of $6 million Gambian dollars for their feeding. The Point has been reliably informed. According to sources, the patients were left without food the whole day. The source said no food for COVID-19 patients. Yes, both Sanatorium and Demban, no breakfast, no lunch, and no dinner. That will be it for the newspapers. We'll go for a break and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. And now the National Gender Platform today presented the Constitution Amendment Bill 2021, which proposes to reserve 16 seats for women in the Gambia's National Assembly. The bill was validated by the Civil Society Gender Platform and other stakeholders on April 10, 2021. Here's an excerpt.
The National Gender Platform, a body that represents women of the Gambia, presented a copy of the draft Constitution Amendment Bill 2021 to the Speaker of the National Assembly, where they called for reserved seats in political representation. Sister Tabunjai Sar presented the document on behalf of the Gender Platform.
I have the singular honor to present this draft Constitutional Amendment Bill 2021, which envisage for women's reserved seats in political representation. It takes into consideration international requirements, international conventions, as well as the National Constitution, the 1997 Constitution, and also the draft Constitution 2021, and the Elections Bill, the Elections Act as well, and to ensure that women's representation are increased and there are reserved seats set for women. It did not touch the 53 single-member constituencies where men and women can contest. It calls for reservations for reserved seats in the administrative areas of the Gambia, the 7 administrative regions of the Gambia, which will cumulate to 14 seats for women, 2 women per region to be represented in the National Assembly. And also call on political party leaders to ensure that equity measures are put in place, taking into consideration the conventions, the international conventions that the Gambia has signed on behalf of the Gambia.
The platform is standing firm to ensure sufficient women participation in politics. For TFN News Review, I am Mati Senghor.
For the first time in the Gambia, your favorite GSM operator, Africell, is the first and only GSM operator to launch a brand new technology called the eSIM. The eSIM simply means you can use your phone without a SIM card. Do you have an iPhone 11? Any of the iPhone X series, a Google Pixel 3, or any new phone that supports the e-technology? Then walk into any Africell customer care center and activate your eSIM today. With your virtual Africell SIM, you can use more than one number without having a physical SIM card in your phone. Enjoy this brand new technology for the first time in the Gambia, brought to you by Africell. eSIM, your phone without a SIM card. For more information, please call 111. Where Africell goes, nobody dares to follow.
Welcome back. Join hands to save a baby earlier today donated blood bank refrigerators to the blood transfusion services. Fatu Kamara was at the presentation ceremony and she now files in this report.
The donation was done by Join Hands to Save a Baby through its CEO, Mrs. Amijaju.
The foundation has spent considerable amount of resources from the start of the project till date. We are pleased to have a founder who has great pride for women and children of this country, who is no other person but Madam Amijaju. She is practically not with us, but then she has always been the lead pathfinder in all our endeavors. From the beginning of the project till date, in total, Join Hands to Save a Baby has spent $1.16 million from the start of the project till date.
She realized that the hospitals also need a preservation facility to preserve these bloods. So that's why she mobilized this fund, over $500,000, to present it to the Minister of Health, to forward present to health facilities that need them, so that when bloods are transfused, they can be kept safe in the hospitals for mothers and babies that need them to use at the right time. So that's why we are here today. So I want to urge, as I said, I want to urge every Gambian, because if every Gambian is like Ami, there will be little tears on the vulnerable people in this country. The government do theirs, citizens do their job. If I tell you how Ami gets this money, you will be surprised. In the Gambia here, it will be going to be a very big surprise to see a woman driving a truck.
National Manager Blood Transfusion Services, Madam Mariam Jami, said the foundation had been rendering aid to the sector. She said the donation is timely. According to her, the refrigerators will be shared among key health centers across the country.
This donation could not have come at a better time, because we have facilities that are in dire need of blood bank refrigerators. The total cost of these 5 refrigerators is above 500,000. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, these refrigerators are specially designed for storage of blood and no other product, and hence they are very expensive. They will be taken to key centers that are in dire need, such as EFSTH, Basse, Bansang, Birkama, and others.
Mariam Jammeh said there is a lot more help needed, particularly with the logistics.
I still emphasize that there is more need for such donations. More of a time, through social media, you will see the plead for blood donation. There is someone in critical need for blood. It's not only giving blood that makes blood available. The logistics have to be there to store blood. If the logistics are not there, only limited blood could be stored. If you look at the refrigerators we have here, the smallest one here can store up to 40 pints of blood. And the biggest has a capacity to store more than 200 pints. So if our facilities have this blood and have consistent electricity that can maintain it, either through the NAVEC system or via a support, another support systems, then at least there will be facilities to store blood continuously.
Minister of Health commended the foundation for its efforts. He said this is a very crucial initiative.
Of course, at this juncture, I think it's another opportunity to talk a little bit about maternal mortality. Maternal mortality is high in many developing countries. The loss of a single mother is sad enough, talk less of if it's more than one. But as a country, maternal mortality has been declining in the Gambia over the period, even though it is high, but it is going down. The Gambia's maternal mortality ratio is one of the lowest in the sub-region as we speak to you. But we say to ourselves, we don't want a single mother to die because of pregnancy. So we have to put all hands on deck, inshallah, to ensure that that happens. The cause of death in many women is multifactorial, many factors. But hypertension in pregnancy, when their blood pressure rises, that tends to kill quite a number of women in pregnancy. Loss of blood, prolonged labor, other causes, even diabetes in pregnancy and their complications and so on. So these are very important. When women also delay in presenting at the hospital, these complications become more likely. So the factors are many. Now, when we get blood fridges, it complements government's efforts in dealing with the availability, to ensure availability of safe blood in our hospitals. So today we stand here and recognize the immense contribution of our sister, Ami Jaju.
Join Hands to Save a Baby through its CEO initiated the Maternal Blood Bank project to launch on the 24th October 2020. The foundation is up to support the national blood transfusion services and many other health sectors. Fatu Kamara reporting for the Fatu Network News Review.
TAF Africa Global is proud to launch the Moria Gardens, conveniently located in Brufut, 5 minutes off the Brufut Highway. Moria Gardens is set to comprise of 20 fenced and gated service plots with sizes ranging from 264 to 420 meters square. Unique features include water and electricity infrastructure, solar street lights, all-weather roads and scenic gardens. We offer a 10-year mortgage plan with a 25% equity down payment in partnership with GT Bank, Trust Bank and EcoBank. For more information, please contact 376-2333 or 776-2333 or visit our offices at Madiba Mall at TAF Brufut Gardens opposite 5-Star Hotel.
Viewers, and now I am joined by my special guest on the show today, Sana Dabo Anfode Cisse from the National Association of Gambia Nurses and Midwives. Welcome to the FATU Network, Sana Dabo and Fode.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming to form. Of course, there is no healthcare, or the entire world. I mean, every healthcare system in many countries right now are struggling as they fight the raging pandemic. They are stretched right now, and then we have you people still fighting for the basics of things like decent pay and all of that. Tell us a little bit about this association of nurses in the Gambia.
Thank you very much. The National Association started with International Council of Nurses, and also Midwives Association was there to also register affiliated with the National Council of Midwives. So in 2004, the association realized that these are two people working on the same role and having the same goals, and they now try to bring them together, irrespective of difference, to have one family, one association that will represent the interests of both nurses and midwives. Because having a midwives and having a nurse, a general nurse at the same time, working side by side, having the same goal and objective, which is a patient care. I think it is important that we come together and amalgamate your ideas to have one big association that will represent the interests and the welfare of the entire nurses and midwives.
And to talk about the interest and the welfare, I understand that you guys had a press conference today to address some of the struggles that you people are faced with as nurses working in the healthcare system in the Gambia. What was the press conference about today?
The press conference was about the allowance, the proposed allowance that the association made since last year, and also the unavailable materials that nurses and midwives use to work. Those are the PPE, those are the personal protective equipments. For the allowances, the National Association, since we came into the office, we understand that the allowance that was paid to nurses, it has been there since before myself coming into the nursing school. And I came to the nursing school, I became a nurse, and this allowance is still there. Like, for example, an allowance of $200 was designated for a facility in charge or a nurse that is responsible for entire health center or hospital. That nurse, and also an on-call allowance is for $200. This has been there for decades now. A nurse will be working from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock. That's where your shift ended. And now your on-call starts from 4 o'clock till 8 a.m. in the morning. Then they'll pay you $200 as an on-call allowance, which we think is very small. And then this on-call allowance is not compulsory on anybody. I can be in the facility and say, well, this $200 doesn't worth anything. So what is more important for me to go and that is when I have other important things to do. But out of humanity and our love for the job and passion, nurses will still do their level best to save the lives of the mother and the unborn child. So we realize that these are not fair. And also the midwives also will be in the labor ward 24 hours. We prepare our own allowance scheme presented to the Ministry of Health and for consideration. We realized that Ministry of Health informed us that the allowance was rejected at the Personnel Management Office. We made several follow-ups from the Honorable Minister himself down to the Secretary General and Head of Civil Service. We, under the instruction, and they informed us that they don't want to work, they don't want to address this in a piecemeal. Like, for example, nurses will come with their problem, later other health want to have a comprehensive allowance scheme for the entire health workers at the Ministry of Health. That was a good start. We really welcome the ideas. Myself, with my other colleagues, the president and the team, we worked with the Ministry of Health for more than a month. We came up with a comprehensive allowance scheme for the entire health system. Secretary General and Head of Civil Service. To our dismay, a few weeks ago, we made a follow-up out that this allowance was not approved by the Personnel Management Office. And that means the allowance that was there decades would still remain for the nurses and midwives. So we felt that that's not fair. And then since we've exhausted all the diplomatic means, we engaged all these relevant stakeholders, and our efforts were futile today to reach out to the general public, to show our frustrations, some of the challenges that we have as nurses and midwives, ranging from the issue of the allowances to the personal protective equipment that are not available at the hospital. So these are some of the things that we were talking about. And also, because we are leading a large number of people in this country, these are the nurses and midwives, we form the large majority in the health system. And we as an executive public to know our public and give a government of the Gambia an ultimatum of 2 working days. From today until on the 28th of this month.
What happens if the ultimatum is not met?
If the ultimatum is not met, if the government did not respond to us, if the government failed to respond to us, if we did not hear from the government of the Gambia, then the
Martha, you are saying that of all the struggles that you are going through all the diplomatic or the approval of allowances for doctors, the minister and PhD holders. What are your thoughts on that?
To be looking at the allowances, they are serving as source of motivation, because if professionals are not motivated, the work cannot be actually conducted in the right way. You know, picking people or certain the rest to actually boost up their allowance level or their salary is quite not fair, because you are actually using that as a motivation to demotivate others, because they will see it in another way around, because they are all working in the same healthcare system, in a system wherein the bulk of the people, I mean certain cohort of people, and increase their allowances. So the other group of nurses around are actually as a sabotage. So at the end of the day, what will happen? They will be demotivated, and in fact, this machine, if you want it to work very well, what you have to do is keep the good work that you are doing. In fact, we know that the allowances are not enough, but yet still them in certain ways. But if this is not happening, the problem will actually increase. I mean, at the end of the day, what will happen? There will be a problem that will be very difficult to solve, because one of the most important healthcare workers in this country are nurses and midwives. Because we actually get from all the critical patient care, these are people that take part, a cordial part, I mean, a very important role they play in trying to ensure that the patients are actually comfort and well taken care of.
So beside the fact that those people up there are earning way more than you people, you know, a lot of people sometimes complain about the fact that the health ministry is bloated with directorates and directors. What do you think about the suggestion from some people that they should do away with them?
I think for us as nurses and midwives, regardless of the number of positions that are available at the Ministry of Health, what is more important is quality of work. Because if you see the Ministry of Health, people doing the hands-on care are not motivated. If they lack the basic materials to work. The Gambia, I'll tell you that the Gambia health system is one of the worst health systems in Africa. We are in the system. We know that there are a lot of things that are not available in the system. Nurses are over. They are doing beyond their boundaries to make sure that to satisfy the patient. All right? There are a lot of things that are not available in the hospital. Like, for example, 4 months now, we've been struggling. Even a glove is not available in the hospitals. Those are using a single pair of gloves to perform
of these kind of things.
This is detrimental to the health of the patient and detrimental to the health of a nurse, because a pair of gloves should be used for a single use. Like, for example, once I use this glove, is infected already. I cannot use this glove to go and medicate another patient, to go and do a procedure to another patient. Once, because we know hospital acquired infections. We call it nosocomial infections. So once you are there, you are at risk of acquiring a patient. What are the infections that are on your hand will not be contacted with the patient. So a single glove for different procedures, you are putting the patients at higher risk and not available. You go to the medication side, there's no medicine available. Like when people say nurses are stealing medicines from the hospital, I think it is important that we clear the doubt.
We will come to that. We will come to that. Fode, do you want to add anything to?
One patient to another through using single glove, but actually carrying infection from the hospital and taking it home to your family, because you are a family man. You reach home, you sit on a sofa, and to actually manage what we have. On the whole, we are trying to pressurize the health system, because that infection, when it is spread at home, there will be a lot of problems, and then the hospital at the end of the day will be overwhelmed because of the action that took place from the hospital, and then the reverse will happen. Instead of now people, reducing the number of people in the hospital, now the number will be actually increased due to the infection that you are carrying from your workplace to your house.
And now to come back to your point, because this is the mentality out there, and a lot of Gambians, and in fact, I think a few years ago, the health minister was in, very hot soup when she mentioned that, well, the healthcare workers are responsible for stealing our medicine and then opening their own pharmacies all over the country. How do you respond to this as someone in the system?
First, let me take you a little bit back. Since this COVID-19 pandemic started, we have lost 2 of our colleagues, and many more of these nurses and midwives contracted the virus along their line of duty. when they are healed, we as an association of nurses and midwives and the family members of those patients, our nurses and midwives, we are responsible for their medication. We are responsible for their fees, lab fees. We are responsible for their treatment process entirely. So where is the consideration for nurses and midwives from this government and the ministry? No single nurse or a midwife in this country has a medical insurance. Currently, we have our senior nurses, in fact, veteran nurses who spend more than 30 years in the service. They have problems with the kidney. Admitted at Edward Francis Moore Teaching Hospital, discharged home. We are still struggling to raise $80,000 for this veteran nurse to go and do a surgery at Senegal. We have a nurse who went for a kidney transplant in India. He came back, he is on a medication, and that medication is costing $10,000, and he has to be with this medication throughout his life. He has to write to us as an association to help and step in with his family members. Nurses are there who are sick. If I am sick as a nurse, I work at Edward Francis Moore Teaching Hospital. The doctor will prescribe a medication for me. Any medicine that I do not have, I will go and buy like any other patient do. So there is no single nurse who will say, I have access to medications. Nurses don't have access to medication. We don't even go near to the medication. Medicines are the pharmacy technicians and the pharmacy assistants. So our role is when the medications are available for patients, we administer these medications. But when we are sick as nurses, we buy our own medicines. And currently, association is paying medical bill for many nurses in this country because there is no medical insurance for these people.
What does that say about our healthcare system?
That means the health is sinking. When we had the increment of the Honorable Minister and the doctors at PhD holders allowances, we really appreciate it. We don't have any problem with it. Nurses and midwives really appreciate it. In fact, we congratulate them for that. But it is so discriminatory if you look at it. It is very unfair. Nurses are doing all the work at the hospital. No single nurse was mentioned in that allowance. And in fact, before the approval of that allowance, our allowance was presented months before that allowance was presented to the cabinet. Our allowance was presented and it was rejected. After a few months, we realized that this other allowance was approved by the cabinet. We were shocked. We wrote a letter and gave a Ministry of Health an ultimatum to respond to us when are they going to pay these allowances. Which they honored our ultimatum, they responded, and they wrote to us and invited us for a meeting. That's why we were going through for the past few months. So nurses don't have access to the medications. We have family members, ourselves, when we are sick, when our family members are sick, we struggle to go up and down to make sure that we buy medicine for these individuals. So this is what is happening. No nurses have access to medicines in the hospitals or health.
To add on to that, this is the reality on ground, that we don't have access to medications at the hospital. The medications are kept by the pharmacies in their department. In fact, it is a separate department from our location. You look at many times, a lot of nurses around, they have family members. In fact, sometimes you have nurses themselves that are sick. They have to struggle and get medications outside because the medications are not available at the hospital. In a particular situation wherein a nurse that was working for almost 30 years presented to a health center, per se, he was prescribed some medications, he went to the pharmacy, even a single drug he could not access. What happened is that he went home and wait for his child that was actually going to high school, that he have to send that child to go to their uncle's house to get some money so that they could get some medication.
This is someone working in the healthcare system?
Someone working in the healthcare system, already served 30 years. So what happened is before the child closed from school and here and there, you know, at the end of the day, what happened to the man? He died like rat, sorry to say. So it's so disheartening. If today we all sit like that and said, it's not our business, we are not involved, the next day it could be myself, the following day it could be Sana. So what we could say to the people is that medications are not controlled by nurses. The medications have their own places in the hospital. And in fact, we don't have any issue around the medications. We only do our prescription, maybe in district hospital or also in health centers, but perhaps in other hospitals, the prescription is done by the doctors. But in other franchises, in district hospital and also in health centers, we only write our prescription and we send the patients to go and collect medication. We are also a victim of this, it's not available, it's not available. Even
for people who are already in the system, what is your appeal to the government of the Gambia?
For us, as the National Association of Gambian Nurses and Midwives, we have come to the conclusion, and then we've negotiated, and we are still open for negotiation. But negotiation cannot be forever. There are limitations to each and everything that we do. So we have come to the center stage. We've given an ultimatum to the government of the Gambia to respond to us on or before on Wednesday, 28th of this month. So it's left to the government now to save the Gambian people, if they have the interest to save the Gambian people. Because if the government failed to respond to us, I know Faru Network will not finish covering that program. So what will happen? So this is our
Are we looking for another sit-down strike or what?
This is the decision that will be made by the general members. And if that's what they want to do, we have no option. We will go by, and we will never leave our people in an isolation. If the general membership said yes, they want to sit down, they want to put tools down, close countrywide, complete lockdown. If that's what the general members agreed to do after Wednesday, we have no option. We will stand in for them. We will stand by them and we will support them. We will never leave them in isolation, and we will make sure that they achieve whatever they want to achieve. So come Wednesday by 4 p.m., if the ministry did not, or the government did not respond to us, then early hours of Thursday, you will hear the news from the nurses and midwives.
Yeah, really to add up onto that, perhaps other people might see this in the other way around. They could say, come on, you're saving your own people, you're dealing with your own Gambians.
Yes, because I remember the situation with the resident doctors when they had that whole sit-down strike after the minister uttered that statement. People were saying, well, you people are here to serve the people, this is unpatriotic and stuff like that.
All right,
so
that's correct. That's correct, I understood. But so, us also, we are trying to actually level the ground. Because if we actually leave the matter like that, we said, oh, it's fine, because all the nurses are demotivated. In fact, to me, right now, in the healthcare system, I spoke to a lot of people, you know, about other issues. So you will realize that about 75% of the nurses are all frustrated. What they want, they actually want to jump into the private sector. So now, we leave the matter hanging like this. We all said, oh, come on, we are serving our people. Everybody will be demotivated. At the end of the day, what will happen? The quality will not be there. You walk down into a hospital, you find perhaps other category of nurses, other category of doctors that are not actually satisfactory. So at the end of the day, what will happen is what we are running away from. Because if you want a good business, you have to invest in your business. So if you don't invest in your business, you are not expected to have a proper outcome from your business. So people are talking, and then we knew it has been going on over and over. What we want to tell people is that we want to level the ground. We are actually speaking for them. We are working for them. We are actually there for them, and we will never disappoint them. The reason why we are doing this is to actually retain our people, is to actually have a better healthcare system. Because currently, the healthcare system we are having, in fact, you walk down into a hospital, the machines that you need, even a blood pressure machine. You look at consultations that are actually lined up, perhaps consultation 3, they have only one blood pressure machine. They will keep on crisscrossing. From this room, somebody use, another person use. In fact, I went somewhere, patients are even saying, this nurse is only crisscrossing, kuntum kuntum. In Mandinka, they say kuntum kuntum, kuntum kuntum. So, what can you do? At the end of the day, what will you do? Before you could finish work, you'll actually walk about 1 kilometer between that corridor. Just crisscrossing to get a thermometer, to get a blood pressure machine. You go walking here and there. So, if you see another opportunity wherein your workload is very, very little, and you see that the salary they are giving you, and then the other places, perhaps they are the same. You have to weigh and balance them. So you will actually go in for the other option, because there is no much druggery in that particular system. So this is the reason why we don't want to frustrate people. We want our people to stay. We love our Gambian people. We are here for them. We will never go against them, but we have to actually regulate the system, because there is no base for this system.
Sana, what's your final word to the Gambian people before we end the show?
Thank you very much. I want to assure the entire Gambian people that nurses and midwives are always there for them, and we will always be working to the best interest of the patient that we are serving. And then we call on the government to respect the plight of nurses to avert any health crisis in this country.
Thank you very much. But before we go, I have a final question because I just watched that Join Hands to Save a Baby donated like refrigerators to the blood transfusion services. And in there, someone mentioned that Gambia has the lowest mortality rate, if I'm right. Is that correct as a nurse? Well, it doesn't seem like accurate information, but I just want to confirm.
For a couple of months, I think you've been hearing the amount of maternal mortality in this country. So I think that speaks for itself. Because this is all because of the unavailability of materials at the hospital. We have so many competent young nurses and midwives. I mean, look at the astonishing breakthrough that happened at Edward Francis Martinez when Dr. Keba Marina did a knee transplant, a knee replacement. He don't do it alone. He did it with my nurses. It was a collective teamwork. So that means they work together. So we have so many young, vibrant nurses who can do better if they have the material. But if the government don't care about our health system, they don't provide us with material that we need to work. That is why we have this increasing number of maternal mortality. So we've seen what happened during this COVID-19 pandemic, when the pandemic was at its peak. We've had the number of death cases that are, and no woman should die during childbirth. No woman deserves to die during childbirth. But because if you go to the hospital, the midwives are really trying. Currently, the midwives are delivering without gloves. And this is, you are at risk of getting HIV and AIDS. You are at risk of getting hepatitis. And some of these medications for hepatitis, $10,000 is which midwife will be able to afford those medications in the country. So if these materials are not available, a nurse, the amount of energy and time that a nurse will spend to look for material, to improvise them, to save a life, is more than the amount of time that he spent in saving that patient. So basically, it's disheartening. This country, I think we can do better as a nation.
Yes, I mean, before I finally leave, coming back to the same thing. You cannot actually try to, plant, a cassava. At the end of the day, you expect to actually harvest a mango. It is quite impossible. This is self-explanatory. We have to spend in the healthcare system. Quite a number of times, there are a lot of, roads that leads to maternal death. But it is also important that the healthcare system is equipped to actually convert any issue that is actually leading to the road of maternal death. So we have to actually invest in order to actually have a better outcome.
Thank you very much for the CISE and Sana Dabo for coming through to the Fatu Network News Review. We really appreciate it, and we will be following up on Wednesday with you people, whatever decision that you guys are going to take. That will be it for News Review today. You can join us tomorrow if you can. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.